Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and our guest today is Reba Dominiski from U.S. Bank, and we're excited to have her on the show today. Reba, welcome.
Thank you very much, Devin. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Reba, we're thrilled. You've got such a fun project going on this summer. Tell us about the Community Possible Relay.
Absolutely. So earlier this year, U.S. Bank launched a new community giving and engagement platform. It's called Community Possible, and we focus on three pillars: work, home, and play. And Devin, the way that we got to those three pillars was really thinking about what made this country great: a stable job, a home to call your own, communities that are connected through the arts, recreation, and play. And we said that's where we're going to focus. But then we wanted to launch that platform in a big and memorable way. So we came up with something that's never been done before. It's a volunteer relay. Think of it as a wave of volunteerism that sweeps across the country.
That's wonderful. So where is the relay now? You got started about almost 4 weeks ago. Where is the relay today?
The relay today is on its way from Oregon to Seattle, Washington. I do have to clarify for you that the way that the relay travels across the country is pretty interesting. So when we came up with this concept of the volunteer relay, if you've ever done any type of track, I was a track runner in high school, you know that the handoff is the most important part of the relay. Where do you hand that baton from one person to another? How could we hand a baton from one community to another? So we came up with a visual symbol of the relay. It is a giant executive coach bus. It's wrapped in U.S. Bank blue. If you've ever seen one of your old concert t-shirts, you know, the list of sites for the concert are on the back. That's what's on the side of this bus. It's wrapped with all of the cities that we're going to visit. And that mobile baton is going to travel 12,000 miles. It's going to visit 38 communities and do both planned and random acts of service in all of those communities. So this weekend we'll be in Seattle.
That's great. What a fun way to do it. Now, what is the race to 153K?
Right. So the race to 153K is really based on a study that we commissioned at U.S. Bank that showed us that volunteerism in this country is on the decline. So we asked Americans why. We got three really understandable reasons. The first is that people feel like they don't have any time. Really busy lives. It's hard to find the time. The second, they said, it's not easy to volunteer. We don't know how to get involved. We don't know who needs us the most. And the third was that they didn't want to do it alone. So we started thinking about those three things, and we said, how could U.S. Bank really make a difference on those three issues? And so that's where we came up with the concept of the relay, was really to make it easy for people to get together with a community of individuals who care about the same causes and make a difference.
That's great. That's great. So, Reba, how long have you been working on this project?
Well, I've been at U.S. Bank for about a year. And I spent that year really focused on the giving and engagement platform, Community Possible. And the relay, we probably spent the last 6 months working through it. As you can imagine, the logistics involved with a 12,000-mile road trip are pretty complicated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So who will be doing the volunteering in Seattle this weekend?
You know, it'll be our awesome U.S. Bank volunteers. So in every one of our locations, we have volunteers, and then on the bus there's actually a driver who's licensed and can do these things, and we also have 2 employees that are taking what we call the road trip of a lifetime. They're actually on the bus 3 months, 12,000 miles, 38 cities. They are fabulous ambassadors of our U.S. Bank brand. Their names are Dixie Celestio and Jabril Black, and they're really the face and the voice and the personality of the relay. So Dixie and Jabril will be in Seattle. They were in Portland. They'll be on every stop along the relay. And we partner with some of our nonprofit partners in this local community to determine what events focused on work, home, and play we engage volunteers in. We've done financial literacy in schools with junior achievement. We've built houses with Habitat for Humanity. So those are the types of activities that Dixie and Jabril and U.S. Bank volunteers, and anybody actually who listens to or watches your programming is welcome to join us. We're using Twitter. U.S. Bank News is tweeting out where the relay has been and also where the relay is going. And the hashtag Community Possible type it into Instagram, you can type it into Facebook, you can type it into Twitter. You'll get lots of great information about the rebate.
Great. Now, Reba, I want to just take advantage of the opportunity that I've got you to ask you a couple of personal questions, if you'll forgive me. But you've become quite a role model at U.S. Bank for this great work. Who do you look up to as a role model? Who inspires you?
Wow, that's a tough question. I'm going to answer in a way that might surprise you, Devin. I actually really admire my 16-year-old daughter. My 16-year-old daughter struggles with mental health issues. She has major depression and anxiety. And her strength and her bravery and her grace every single day, doing simple things that you and I take for granted, is really what inspires me. I wear this bracelet. I don't know if you can see it. It says Team D. Her name starts with a D, and on the other side it says Stigma Fighter. And one of the things that my daughter and I and our whole family is committed to is really bringing awareness to the issue of mental health and taking it out of the darkness and moving it into the sunlight. So my daughter is really the person who inspires me the most, her strength and her courage.
It is wonderful to see more and more people sort of making the connection that mental health is no different than any other kind of health.
That's right.
When someone has the chicken pox, we treat it, right? And we still love the person, right? So anyway, I appreciate that. That's a great role model to have, great someone to admire. Now, Reba, you could be doing anything in your career. You're a super talented woman. I get why volunteering is important. I get why CSR is important. What I want to understand is why you feel compelled to do that with your career. Why is this so important to you?
Sure. Well, that's another personal answer for me. So I was raised by a single mom in Detroit. And my single mother really instilled in her two young daughters two core beliefs. The first was the importance of education, and the second was the importance of service. So every morning when I was eating breakfast, eating my Cheerios, I stared at a poster on the wall of my kitchen, my mom's kitchen. And the poster had a quote from Rabindranath Tagore, and the quote went like this: I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I acted and found that life was service. Wait, I got that wrong. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and found that life was service. I acted and behold, service was joy. And so that quote really instilled in me, and my mother really instilled in me, this belief that it's important to live a life with purpose. And a life with purpose for me is really a life where I'm focused on others. I've been given so much in my life, and I want to make sure that I'm paying that forward. So I do this work to honor my mother's legacy and really live life with purpose.
Oh, that's great. Well, Reba, that's a great insight. One last question. We ask all of our guests for an impact hack, some tip that would help us to do more good in the world. What's your tip?
My tip on impact, again, this is personal. It's about self-awareness. So I'm very self-aware after my 45 years on the planet. I know my strengths, I know my opportunities, and I pay attention to my body cues, and I'll give you a couple of specific examples. When my gut is tugging on something, I know that I've got to dig deeper because there's something about the project that I'm working on that doesn't feel right. I feel like we're making a mistake. I also have found that when I get scared or overwhelmed, it's time for me to start writing. When I write things down, it brings an order to the chaos sometimes in my mind. And then finally, I know myself really well. Morning is my absolute best time. I often joke that by 9 a.m. it's all downhill for me. So I take projects that are really complicated that need my best time and attention, and I work on those first thing in the morning. So for me, the way that I have impact is really being self-aware, knowing myself, and paying attention to cues that my body gives me.
Oh, fantastic. Those are great insights, and I appreciate you sharing. Now, Reba, one last time before you go, remind us how people can learn more about the Community Possible Relay.
Yeah, the easiest way to learn more about Community Possible is to follow US Bank News on Twitter, or to type the hashtag Community Possible into Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and you'll get lots of information about the Community Possible Relay. And I do want to encourage all of you, if you can get to one of our events, if you're in that town on that date, that's fantastic. But if you can't, figure out a way that you can give and serve in your local community. Grab your friends, grab your family, and do an act of service. and then post it, tell your story, and hashtag Community Possible, and you'll be part of the US Bank Race to 153K.
Fantastic. Well, Reba, thank you very much for joining us today. We wish you every success on your race to 153K.
Thanks so much, Devin. Have a great day.
All righty. Let's do some good.